My 88-year-old partner has Parkinson's, and he has extreme fatigue and weakness, and he's become vegan for a year and lost 30 pounds just from low fat. And the question we have is how to overcome the fatigue, and if the muscles are losing their muscle mass, would low protein aggravate that situation, or how to keep the muscles maintain their mass and build their strength and build the fatigue? The partner support is not as helpful if the motivation and their fatigue is holding them back from doing the thing that you are advising.
Yes, I understand. Thank you for the question. The first thing is that diet is a very important intervention. And just to put this in perspective, the average adult takes in 1 ton of food per year, a ton. So think about how big that is. And so when somebody says that it doesn't matter, in what universe does a ton of anything not matter, right? Of course it matters. So that's a really important step, is to eat a low-fat, plant-based diet, high carb. The next thing is to look at hydration, because even a healthy person, if you notice, I've got my water here, right? I'm always drinking water because I talk all day long, which is actually, if you go out in the cold and you see the vapor, that's loss of water, right? When it's really, really cold outside. So on a day like today, when I'm talking all day long, I've been talking since like 8 o'clock this morning, I have to stay hydrated. If I don't, not only is my mouth dry, but I start to get tired. So hydration is something to look at. Being sedentary makes people tired. One of the first things I'll do, like if I'm at a conference or whatever, and there's just so much going on, I don't have time to exercise, like what happens when we have conferences. The first thing after everybody goes home, it's like, I got to go get on a treadmill or go out and run or go do something before I just fall asleep on the floor. So physical activity will help, and physical activity will also be the key to building muscle strength, which is the key to being able to live independently and move around. So when you've got somebody who's really weak, I would pay attention to the hydration, make sure the person's eating enough food. That's another thing too. Calorie adequacy is an issue. Make sure the person's eating enough food, and then begin to do movement, and start putting movement into the equation, but start where the person is. So if you've got an older person who is really weak and tired, we're not going to go to try to do a 4-mile walk today, right? I mean, I've had people start, they're so out of shape that the first time they walk, they go to the mailbox and back. Maybe they do that for 2 or 3 days. Then they go to the mailbox and turn left and go to the end of the cul-de-sac and come back. It can be very, very slow, but I think you'll see a lot of improvement with very gradual incorporation into more and more movement. And that will help with the brain, as I mentioned before. And it will also increase energy levels over time. And it's the key to independence, because if this person just continues to sit, the disability will be the inevitable end, in spite of the good diet.
Thanks very much for that, Pam. And we're going to move on now to our next question, coming in from, let's see now. Steve, I don't see audio for you, but if you can get your audio fixed, we'll come back to you. So I'm going to go on now to somebody with the initials JB. JB, welcome.
Hi, Dr. Popper. My husband has Parkinson's and has severe constipation. He takes the Linzess every day, the larger amount, 290 milligrams. Sometimes that's not enough. He is on a plant-based diet. He drinks plenty of water. He takes peppermint oil, which helps when he needs it. But I've heard that some essential oils are bad for the microbiome. Is peppermint oil safe for him?
I think the peppermint oil is safe, but you might want to start a probiotic as well. In other words, a chronically constipated person has pretty much destroyed their microbiome. And it can't repair itself because the bacteria that populate the microbiome the body doesn't make them. It's an interesting thing. All creatures on the planet have microbiomes. Even a fruit fly has a microbiome. It's much smaller than ours, I might add. But in any case, this really is creatures that these bacteria can live on their own. without us. We can't live without them. And if you get to the place where you've destroyed enough of it, a probiotic might be helpful. The other thing is, again, I'd look at water. It is shocking. I bet probably 75% of the people who I talk to, the first time I talk to them, they are not drinking enough water. And the key to resolving constipation is that you need a high fiber diet, absorbing all that water to put pressure on the colon and cause a bowel movement. One last thing I'll mention to you is if people are taking laxatives or prescription drugs like Linzess to have bowel movements, over time, sometimes those drugs can be withdrawn as the microbiome is replaced and the water drinking and the high fiber diet and all that take hold. But these drugs are highly addictive and the laxatives are highly habituating. So you have to withdraw from them very, very, very slowly. You can also add a little bit of magnesium. You can experiment with some magnesium, which often gets the bowels to move as well, and might get your husband off the Linzess.
Thanks very much for that, Pam. And actually, it looks like Steve's got his audio fixed, so we're going to go straight to Steve. Hi, Steve. Welcome. Oh, Steve, are you there? So, hang on. Let me try to unmute you one more time. Okay, Steve, I've unmuted you. Are you there? Okay, Steve? No. Okay. So, Steve, something's still going on there. If you can try to work on that, we're going to take a few other questions and hopefully we can get back to you. Thanks for trying. We're going to move now to Eileen. Eileen, I am unmuting you and welcome.
Hi, Dr. Popper. I don't have a question. I just wanted to tell you how much I admire you for everything you've done, especially this past couple of years. I've been listening to you and I just think you're a kick-ass woman. I can't think of any other thing. I just think you're great. So I just thought I'd tell you that.
Thank you. I always wanted to be a kick-ass woman. So I'm glad. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thanks for that, Eileen. And we're fond of Dr. Popper as well. That's why we keep bringing her back. So thank you for being here again. And I see now that we have Ben. Ben, I'm going to ask you to join.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Thank you very much for your teaching us today. And I got one question. I saw you said slides, high fat can damage the mitochondria. And the high fat is come from the avocado or any, the high fat, I don't understand here, high fats.
What's that now?
High fats, you said mitochondria dysfunction can cause by high fat food and inflammation. Two you said high fats, high fat.
High fat, yes.
Yeah.
High fat diet is very damaging. High fat diets are a problem in so many respects. I mean, if you eat enough fat, you can increase your body's production of cholesterol. And if you eat too much fat, it slows digestion. It's one of the leading causes of slow digestion. I mean, that's one of the reasons why people will sometimes eat lunch and then they're not hungry until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. It's because they had a high fat lunch. It just takes forever to go through the system. So, and then of course, fat contributes to weight gain. I mean, it's very difficult to maintain normal weight when you're eating, for example, oils that have 14 grams of fat per tablespoon, right? They're just weight promoting. So really, whatever topic the lecture is, today it's Parkinson's disease, tomorrow it could be something else, you're still going to get the same recommendation to eat a low fat diet, high fiber, low fat. And the one exception would be if you have some reason to eat a ketogenic diet, you have an epileptic 3-year-old or brain cancer. Those would be some indications for a high fat ketogenic diet. But other than that, you want to keep fat intake really, really low. And it's not hard to do once you learn how to do it. In fact, what most people experience if they eat a lower fat diet long enough was when they eat too much fat, they don't feel so good. And most of it, and I can tell you that from my own experience, it just feels like the food is just sitting there. Don't sleep so well, that kind of thing. So most people like it better once they can make that conversion. And it will help in this situation. It will particularly help the constipated PD patient.
Thanks, Pam. Looks like Ravindra is back with a follow-up. Let's go ahead. Welcome back, Ravindra.
Okay, thank you for giving me another chance to ask another question. Drinking water is just like cleaning everything. To clean, you need the water. But if you have bladder issues, like my partner gets up 3-4 times at night to urinate. On a good day, he may not get up any time, but that is an issue. And if during the daytime we go anywhere and if the water is asking the bladder to go and you cannot go, there is a leakage issue. And if we take medication for urgency, that doesn't help the brain. How do you suggest we address this bladder who's not happy if we drink water?
Well, one thing I'll mention is that the further the progression goes of the disease, the more difficult it is to incorporate the things that we're talking about. All right, for the reasons that you're stating, you bring up a very good point. If the person has difficulty with bladder, which is common, as I mentioned in the lecture, then the water drinking can become problematic. A couple things that you can do. One is bladder retraining, teaching people can learn to control how long they can wait before they urinate. Another thing is you can time water to stop drinking before bedtime, a few hours before bedtime, which makes it less likely that the person will get up during the night, which would lead to more restful sleep and the potential for having more energy the next day. But one of the difficulties in doing some of these things is with a late stage patient who's already down the path of medications and certain disabilities, you can't always overcome it. And another thing too is the ability, it may be that going someplace you do have to wear Depends or something of that nature so that you avoid leakage. I would rather see somebody wear Depends and have some leakage than not drink enough water based on a long-term view of what this disease looks like as it progresses. But these are the kinds of discussions that you need to have with somebody. It's obviously I'm a little bit of a disadvantage because I don't have all the information on the affected person here. I could just give you some things to think about.